Ladies and gentlemen, family and friends, distinguished guests, and of course, graduands, in person and online, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to the SAMS UHI 2025 graduation ceremony. Graduation is a great opportunity to celebrate the success of each academic cohort as they prepare to leave us to enter the world of work or further study. Our graduation has evolved much over time. In our first graduation, only 3 students were awarded degrees, and the event was comfortably hosted in the conference room at SAMS. For a number of years, the ceremony was held in a marquee on site at SAMS. However, the weather gods can only be kind for so long, so we moved indoors, first to the Argashir Gathering Halls, and now for the first time to the Corran Halls. This venue hosts most of Oban's important events, so I feel it is fitting that the SAMS graduation is now one of them. The last 2.5 decades of educational activity has had a transformational effect on SAMS. We have moved from a completely research-focused organisation to a much more diverse and outward-looking institution. The magnitude of the change in SAMS is reflected in the combined student cohort of undergraduate and postgraduate students, now exceeding the number of staff on site. We are heartened by the continued popularity of the programme. Indeed, for the first time ever, our 2024 undergraduate intake exceeded 40 students, with a similar number of new students joining us in 2025. However, in comparison to almost all other institutions delivering similar courses, we maintain relatively small student numbers and close access to the research environment. This is at the very core of our teaching ethos and very much part of what makes SAMS unique. Environmental science now has a higher profile than ever before. The term climate emergency was only coined in 2016, but is now part of mainstream thinking. A single BBC documentary in 2017 elevated marine plastic pollution from a side issue to one of the major public environmental concerns. Evidence of our changing climate is all around us. 2024 was the hottest year on record for global average temperatures, with 2025 looking like it will continue in a similar vein, placing it as the 2nd or 3rd warmest year on record. Wildfires in California in January 2025 destroyed over 18,000 buildings at estimated costs of $53 billion. This summer in Europe, temperatures exceeded 40 degrees in a number of countries, with an estimated 1,500 excess deaths. And the marine environment is not immune to these elevated temperatures, with ocean heat content at record highs and Antarctic sea ice hitting a record low in early 2025. Our local marine environment is also impacted by these climatic changes. This summer, the south of the UK once more experienced a significant marine heat wave, with a sea surface temperature anomalies of 1.5 to 3 degrees above 1982 to 2012 average. These elevated temperature events are often associated with harm to marine life that is adapted to lower temperatures. A recent high-profile example of the potential consequences of such environmental change comes from South Australia, where a massive bloom of the harmful dinoflagellate Carenia mikimotoi that first developed in May has killed thousands of fish and other marine animals. Carenia mikimotoi is commonly found in Scottish waters, with occasional large blooms, although fortunately not yet of the scale in Australia. The risk to the health of farmed fish and the human consumers of shellfish from blooms of Carenia mikimotoi and other harmful algae is currently mitigated both in Scotland and elsewhere through monitoring programs. These nowcasts rely on the observation of a harmful event that has already started and hence provide relatively little time for mitigation to be undertaken. However, through the development of advanced statistical models, it is now potentially possible to predict these events before they happen. An example of this approach has recently been developed by SAMS researchers, including our colleague Tim Sevcek. Through pump priming funding from the UHI Aquaculture Hub and a subsequent EU research grant, we are now undertaking full field trials of our model-based early warning system, with the hope that it becomes a tool to protect the Scottish aquaculture industry and its consumers. If our approach is successful, it will still be necessary to make potential users aware of the technique and its benefits, or in other words, to undertake knowledge exchange. To this end, we endeavour to teach our students skills of scientific communication. The COVID pandemic inadvertently provided some tools for us to do this. Teams and Zoom calls are now second nature and have removed many tedious journeys from our lives. I say this as someone who once travelled to Estonia for a half-day meeting, not something I would do now. However, we still need to understand how best to use these tools. Online meetings and workshops now fill any gaps in a scientist's calendar, these markedly reducing our carbon footprint, and it is appropriate that environmental scientists set the lead in such approaches. However, this has to be tensioned against the thinking time provided by the train journey to the airport. This was of no small value. Moreover, the spark of scientific insight that often comes from a chance conversation over coffee or in the bar with a colleague from another institution or even another continent cannot be replicated as we sit at our computers in different time zones. It is very pleasant for those of us on the stage to bask in the reflected glory of days like this, but delivering our education activity is very much a SAMS-wide endeavour. An excellent example of someone who has contributed strongly to both our research and teaching is today's mace bearer, Dr. Arlene Ditchfield. Arlene is a scientist at SAMS specialising in marine biogeochemistry and is also a key member of the education team, being the deputy programme leader for the marine science degree. Arlene has also taken the lead in the development of the new MSci in marine science that will allow some SAMS students to spend a fifth year of study in industry. This is a new development both for SAMS and UHI, and its approval for delivery from this September is a huge credit to Arlene's tenacity and hard work. While today is the first graduation for most of our undergraduate students, we have a number of old hands, our postgraduate masters and PhD students. Research is becoming increasingly directed by government and industry to specific problems. And while the profile of environmental science is increasing, the funding for fundamental science is not. The academic freedom that graduate students enjoy that allows them to generate new knowledge and understanding is therefore becoming increasingly important. Graduands, I know that your time at SAMS will have hugely deepened your understanding of the marine environment. Indeed, the breadth of the course you have completed means that you will have a wider knowledge of marine science than most, if not all, of the staff. Graduates such as yourselves are uniquely qualified to go out into the world and be stewards of the marine environment and to ensure that sustainable management is not forgotten in the race to the bottom of profit and wealth creation. That may seem a heavy burden, and perhaps it is, but those of you that decide to take it on, I'm sure will do so admirably. None are more qualified than you for the job. The benefits and challenges of the rapid development of artificial intelligence are only just beginning to be considered in teaching, research, and society as a whole. It is likely that the world of work, be it as a scientist or in some other field, will be very different in years to come for today's graduates. But we trust that you have the skills and environmental understanding to meet this challenge head on. What you have gained here at SAMS, on top of what I hope was an enjoyable 4 years, is the ability to think in logical terms, to learn new things, evaluate their significance, and to synthesize and present information in such a way that others take notice of your opinions. Such skills will last you a lifetime. You have all enriched the SAMS family in your time with us, but have now reached a time of decision and change in your lives. New adventures await, and most, if not all of those in the audience are envious. Embrace the new challenges and remember SAMS fondly as you do. So now to move on to the next part of the ceremony, the address from the SAMS director, Professor Nick Owens.
Thank you very much, Bhavani. Vice-Chancellor, honoured guest, Chair of SAMS, boss, most importantly, graduands, both undergraduates and postgraduates, and friends and family of the graduands. You're all extremely welcome It's a great honour and pleasure that I have to be able to say a few words to you on this great day. When I say pleasure, actually it is a genuine pleasure. I think I've actually got probably one of the best jobs in the world. I'm 2 minutes from my office seat. I've got a beach, 2 beaches actually. I can look out at the sea at any time. I can think and read about the sea. I mean, what's not to like? But actually, thinking of seas, I'm actually looking at another sea out here, all of you, and all of these lovely smiling faces. There's a few nervous ones here. Maybe you're worried about tripping up on the stairs or whatever. Please don't. Smile, that's great. But everybody else really is smiling out here. And I think one of the things that is fantastic about my job is actually this day, is it is a real pleasure to see so many very happy, smiling faces. And it's something that always strikes me. And next time you're in an airport, just take a look, if you go to the arrivals hall especially, and you get the same interaction. Everybody is happy and smiling. Okay, there may be a few tears of joy, but actually everybody is really happy. And graduation day is one of those. That's one of those. And so that's, you are helping me actually enjoy the job that I'm doing here. We're all in our fine clothes, and for those of you who perhaps are wondering, this is the SAMS Ocean Explorer tartan, and there's a shop out there, you can buy some. I don't think there's a kilt there, but you can buy something else. But yeah, it's wonderful to see you all here. It certainly seems to be in every human culture, every human society, we want to celebrate the start and end of things, the beginnings and ends. It seems to be, as I say, it's built hardwired into being human. So all these momentous occasions, we want to celebrate them in some way. And, it would be easy to think that a graduation really is one of those celebrations where we're ending something. It's the end of all your time here, graduates, in your studies. But actually, I don't think it's like that at all. I think it's much more complicated than that. I think, is it really an end? I mean, okay, yes, it's perhaps the end of a period of intense endeavour, but perhaps it's more of a milestone on the journey that you've had. And thinking about milestones, I mean, they come in all shapes and sizes. There's even the Society of Milestone Gatherers or something, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Small rocks, big momentous things. I don't know how many of you are long-distance cyclists, but there's some tremendous milestones being built out of cast iron and so on. So is graduation sort of just, an event like this on the journey? I don't know. Thinking of journeys, pilgrimages. Pilgrimages, it's as much about the actual journey itself, so this time that you've spent in studying, for instance, as it is reaching the end. And so certainly these occasions make me think about what actually this event, this celebration we're celebrating here is all about. Perhaps we could think, and I know this is a bit of a cliche really, but many of you I know will know of Churchill's famous speech about where he said it's not the end, it's not even the beginning of the end, but it's the end of the beginning. And so what is this for all of you, you graduands? I think it absolutely is the end of the beginning of the next phase of your life. It's a starting point and a finishing point, a bit like a racetrack, really. And what a race you've had. It's not a sprint, that's for sure. It's much more of a marathon. You've had to show this resilience, commitment, endeavour, personal determination, patience, all great characteristics for the rest of your lives. And so your time here, you've helped develop some of those skills in this race. But you haven't been alone in that race, if you recall. Look at all the people around you. You've had friends and family supporting you in that race. You've not been alone. Hopefully, we've been here to help you as well. But I think we will be applauding all of you soon, in a couple of minutes, as you come and get your degrees, your scrolls. And so what I think you should do, just think of all of the support that you've had. And while we will be applauding you in a minute, I think it's an opportunity for all of you now, all of you graduands, to actually applaud the friends and family of all of the people who've helped you. Thank you. I think many of you will know that actually whilst you've been studying here at SAMS, you've been both enjoying the old and the new. SAMS is the oldest marine science institute in the UK, one of the oldest in the world. And yet you've also been part of UHI, of course, one of the newest universities, certainly in the UK. Now, part of that old and new actually has rubbed off on you perhaps in ways that you don't know. One of the early founders of SAMS, Sir John Murray, was really quite a wise person. I happen to be very keen on his life, and I'm looking into it as writing a biography of him. But he came up with sort of an introduction to one of his books, and in it he said, "We are in an age of ideas, an age of seeking and finding, the like of which the world has not hitherto seen." Now, while you've been studying with us, one of the things that we've actually been doing is we've started to think about how we, as an organisation, as a university, as a research institute, interact with what we're all interested in, and that is the ocean. And one of the things that we've done is we have now decided to elect the ocean to become one of the members of our board. So this is an example of always seeking and trying to find. And what we're trying to do is to seek and find a different way of governing an organisation. So graduands, you're just about to become graduates, which is excellent. So just going back to those words from Sir John Murray, as you graduate, then you're about to go out and to seek and find in this next phase of your lives, and the likes of which you will have never seen before. So we wish you luck with that seeking and finding. Well done again. We heartily congratulate you. When you leave us, please don't forget us. You can become a member of the alumni of UHI, and you become a member of the SAMS clan. So I'm always loath to give graduands and graduates advice, but there's three little snippets that perhaps I'd like you just to think about. And that is, seek and find your passions. One of the reasons that I actually think I'm doing the best job in the world is because I sought and found my passion. So you seek and find your passions. Travel well in this world, but don't forget to smell the flowers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. And it's really interesting when Nick was saying about having the ocean on the board. I know that many people are very, very interested to hear how this will move forward. And we're, I think, one of the first places to actually have the ocean as a member on the board. So now we'll move on to our keynote address. Today, I am truly delighted to introduce our keynote speaker, the renowned marine geologist Heather Stewart. Heather graduated from the University of Glasgow and has previously worked at the British Geological Survey. She now holds a split role as the director of Kelpie Geoscience Limited, a marine science consultancy which carries out fundamental and applied research into the geology and physical character of the seabed and subseabed. And she is also a senior researcher affiliated with the Minderoo UWA Deep Sea Research Centre at the University of Western Australia. Last year, she set a world record by being part of the deepest submersible dive ever carried out by an all-female crew. The almost 10-hour dive took her 8,000 meters under the surface, and I know that many, many young people are delighted that she did this. Old and young alike, actually. I'm truly delighted too.
No, we're still young.
Okay, that's fine. So we are delighted to have her with us today to deliver our keynote address. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Heather Stewart.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for the invite and the amazing, some of that was true, not all of it. Anyway. First things first, congratulations. Bloody well done, okay? This is your day, and I can actually well remember just the point where you think, oh God, I'm never going to make it, and then suddenly the big day's here, and you've got the world at your feet. You're at a fork in the road, and it's forks in the road that I'd actually like to talk to you all about, because this is, well, one of many that you've had already as you are choosing what you're maybe going to go off to university to do, and securing the place and undertaking your research and your learning. But this is a big one. This is a big fork in the road. And I'd like to spend a few minutes just talking about that. And not only that, but as a number of people have already said, you know, you've learned the skills, I hate the phrase a little bit, but lifelong learner. But both Bhavani and Nick have touched upon that already. The course that you've just completed, your time with SAMS and the University of Highlands and Islands, have given you all the skills you need to go forward into the world. And don't lose track of where you've come from, but also the ability to turn your hand to anything. You'll have your niches that you develop over the years that you love, you know, the ones that get your palms sweaty and your heart racing when you're standing on the back deck of a boat, you know, wondering, what am I doing here, right? But those moments will pass, and, you know, it'll be turning your hand to the next challenge that is facing our oceans, and Bhavani has just touched upon some of the challenges that our world is looking at just now. But interestingly enough, one of my own forks in the road took place just at SAMS a few years ago. And I had the pleasure of working with Bhavani and two other chaps called Alan Jameson and Francis Neat as part of the Deep Sea Forum. Those glory days, those were. And we were furthering research in the deep water areas around about the UK. Of course, many of those are sort of Scottish, don't I say, but they are. And it was one of those forks in the road moments where I was standing talking with Bhavani and the guys, and Alan had just got back from the Japan Trench and filming the deepest fish ever known, ever discovered. You know, so that's like, you know, Guinness World breaking. You know, he's literally got the certificate in his office. You know, nature paper, TV, fame, fortune. You know, flowers rain from the sky. And he sort of stood having a cup of tea with me. And I was sort of chatting, I was like, well, what's next after that? You know, it's a bit like, ooh, you know, downhill all the way to retirement. And he was like, no, well, actually, I'm going to Antarctica. And I was like, oh, right, well, some folk have all the luck, you know. And he said, you know, I was like, well, what are you doing there? And he was saying that he's going to collect some cores to sort of take some tiny little samples for some biologists to look at bacteria that live in extreme environments. I was like, oh, that's interesting, right? So what are you doing with the rest of the core, Alan? He was like, oh, I don't know, I think I was going to throw it over the side. And I'm going to look over at John Howe there, you know, he's a fellow geologist, and, you know, he's probably having the same heart palpitation that I was having at that moment. And I was like, Alan, okay, those cores will hold a record of ice sheet change, climate change over the last, 100,000 years at least. Think of it, like the dynamics of the Antarctic ice sheet, could be captured in those cores, and exactly where you're going. Nobody's really gone there before. They all go round the corner to Pine Island and Thwaites and stuff, so just whatever you do, Al, just find yourself a bloody geologist, right? And so he's looking at me, he was like, oh, so just touching upon what Nick said there about passion. He was like, crikey, you seem a bit upset about the fact that I'm ditching these cores, Do you want to come to Antarctica with me? Yes. So that's my next bit of advice, at these forks in the road, maybe say yes more than you say no. At that point, Alan said, you might want to talk to your boss and your husband, and, you've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old at home. And I was like, yeah, yes, right. And by the way, it's exactly what you think on the TV. You look up from the back deck and there's icebergs, glaciers, whales going all over the place. And it turns out penguins are really loud, right? Anyway. But again, that was the first of many forks in the road. It was a bit like spaghetti junctions down south, It was it was amazing. You know, suddenly I found myself on another expedition to a subduction trench, this time in the Pacific Ocean. Then I ended up working with Victor Vescovo, an explorer who wanted to build a submersible that had never been built before and go to the deepest 5 points in the 5 oceans. And I was lucky enough to be along for that ride, doing science and research along the way. But I mean, again, it's the forks in the road and the saying yes more than you say no, and being able to be flexible and holding on to that sort of lifelong learner, easy for other folk to say, moment, you know, where you can sort of turn your hand to something else and be ready for the next challenge to face us all and to keep on doing that. And so that moment, those forks in the road, led, as Bhavani's just touched upon, to a moment. So picture the scene. It's last year. I'm in a place called the Nova Canton Trough. Don't worry, nobody's ever heard of it. It's just south of Hawaii. You know, I've got a hard life now. And I'm sitting in a 2-person crewed submersible with an amazing pilot, engineer, and now friend, Kate Wawatai from New Zealand. And there's a moment where we're about to dive to 8,000 meters. So we're about to descend through 8 kilometers of water to the seafloor. And there's something, the other final sort of life lesson, again, Nick's touched upon this, is just enjoy what you do, because there was a moment where I'm sat with Kate. We've just been cleared to dive. And at that moment, you know, you start pumping in, you start pumping in your ballast tanks, and this view out the viewport. So you're kind of, you know, there's sort of bits of sky sort of bobbing in and out as the wash is just coming into the viewport. You know, so you've got bits of blue sky, and then it's sort of white and pale grey, palest of greys. You start to descend, and it's silent. And the view changes from those pale greys to the lightest of blues, to the most amazing blue, sort of picture, you know, the colour of the robes on Keith there. That's about 50 metres water depth. The sea is that colour. It's just unctuous. You just want to go out and touch it. And then it gets darker and darker, the deepest blues that you can imagine, and then it all goes black. It's completely silent. You know, we don't have any engines running or anything, no thrusters. We're just falling under the weight of the submersible. And it's just black. And then between about 1,000 metres and 2,500 metres, the view outside lights up with fireworks as you go through the zone where the bioluminescence is there. And that is just, it's a moment, an actual moment. And it was about then that Kate said, well, I was going to try and wait until we got to the bottom, but we're the deepest diving all-female team. I was like, no way, yeah. And it was just amazing. And then to round it all off, whenever you get to the sea floor and you turn on your lights, and what you've been studying for, planning for, and hoping for, and more importantly, there's an entire family up top that have facilitated, they've worked hard to get just these 2 people in a titanium ball who might not be entirely sane to the bottom of the ocean. That's a moment, and embrace those moments. And so when the seafloor loomed up out of the darkness, and you can see the geological seascape, the geodiversity, the biodiversity sort of unfolding beneath you. And there's the moment where you realize how privileged you are, and you've got the tools for that privilege to tell the story of how that seascape has evolved, the geological processes that have gone on, but also the biological phenomena that you're seeing down there. And then you realize just how special it is and how important it is to be the flexible, lifelong learner that's passionate about their subject and is going to say yes at every fork in the road. So congratulations and enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Heather. And I'm glad you mentioned Victor Vescovo and our friends Francis and Alan, because they do. For those of you that did deep sea biology, you will remember the taxonomy bits where we mentioned, you know, Francis and Alan helping with the identification of various animals. Anyway, so there are lots of links, and I'm delighted, as I said, really delighted to have Heather on the stage with us today. So our next speaker is Professor Vicky Nairn, the Principal and Vice-Chancellor of the University of the Highlands and Islands. And Vicky, I invite you to come forward and deliver the 2025 Principal's Address.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. And I'm not sure how I can follow that, Heather. What an amazing, absolutely amazing speech. You had me enthralled, and I'd love to hear more about it. And the fact that you, as graduates, have the opportunity to do something like that with the skills and knowledge you've acquired, well, I'm really jealous. My English and Classics degree doesn't quite cut that sort of stuff. So, honoured guests and students, good afternoon. And firstly, thank you to Professor Owens and the Board of SAMS for hosting this event today. I'm really delighted and honoured to be joining you today as we gather for what is a very special celebration of the success and achievements of our students and also our academic colleagues who've helped them along their journey and their family and friends. And today is an opportunity to celebrate that success and to make sure that you recognise your achievements with your families, your friends, your lecturers, your tutors and your supporters. And on behalf of the university, I offer my heartfelt congratulations to each and every one of you, but would also like to thank your families and friends and supporters that they have given you. I know from my own personal experience that coming to university can be a real challenge, that certainly you might have made sacrifices or your family might have made sacrifices. So today's the day when you get to celebrate that, and mums and dads and sisters and brothers and family members can be really proud of you. So I hope that you're going to make lots of noise during the celebrations and when you come up for your degree, and I expect to hear lots of clapping and cheering so we can have a really vibrant time. As you embark on the next chapter of your lives with knowledge, passion and determination, I've no doubt you're going to make a positive impact on the world around you. And you are a testament to the power of education and the limitless potential of the human spirit. I want to say a few words about SAMS. SAMS is a very, very important part of the University of the Highlands and Islands, and this year marks a historic chapter for UHI. We've not only reached new heights as a young university, but we have excelled. In the 2025 National Student Survey, UHI achieved its best ever student satisfaction score, surpassing both internal benchmarks but also the Scottish sector average. And we moved from being rated 6th in Scotland to being rated 4th in Scotland for undergraduate student satisfaction, and 1st in Scotland for postgraduate satisfaction for the 4th year in a row. And I'm incredibly proud of those statistics and incredibly proud to be able to add my part to the contribution at UHI. But these stats are really a testament to the dedication of our staff, the strength of our communities, and more importantly, the passion and commitment of our students. Our spirit of academic excellence and innovation has never been stronger. UHI is more than a traditional university, and we pride ourselves on delivering further education, higher education, world-class research to over 35,000 students per year across our campuses of 50 teaching and learning centres. And our philosophy is based on our founding values of creating sustainable education for students of all ages and abilities. Our ethos is underpinned by our mission to have a transformational impact on the people, communities and economies of our region, and we care passionately about the communities we serve and demonstrate our commitment through our excellent student experience, but by offering flexible and supported lifelong learning from access level to PhD and delivering direct apprenticeship programmes linked to workforce demand, all within the same institution. A fundamental part of our mission is to drive co-created education and research, enhanced by our unique landscape, our sense of place, our sense of heritage and culture, and ensuring that learning outcomes are second to none. And across the UHI area, we have centres of excellence and world-class thinking that are pushing the boundaries of academic and applied knowledge, where staff and students and industry and communities are collaborating to drive innovation and new ways of thinking. SAMS continues to lead the way in marine research, and I would like to highlight just a few of the achievements which have been recognised this year, amongst many, many achievements from our excellent colleagues who are here today. Dark oxygen. Deep sea scientists have announced that the most detailed examination yet of our deep ocean, which could provide clues to how life on Earth began, and even whether life can be sustained on other planets, inside and outside our solar system. This team, led by Professor Andrew Sweetman, hello Andrew, just got a nudge there, has secured $2 million of support from the Nippon Foundation and is truly groundbreaking research. Nick's mentioned putting the ocean on the board. SAMS is 141 years old this year, and in this case, age does equal wisdom. In September last year, I was delighted to hear that SAMS trustees had decided to recognise the ocean as a trustee of the Board of Management. The ocean is arguably the planet's most vital natural asset, covering nearly 75% of the Earth's surface and more than 95% of the living space when depth is considered. It regulates the climate, provides oxygen, sustains biodiversity, and underpins the livelihood of millions of people. Yet human activities have pushed it to the brink. Rising temperatures, plastic pollution, and unsustainable fishing practices have and continue to disrupt marine ecosystems at an alarming rate. These human activities are to a significant degree controlled by the decisions taken in boardrooms right around the world, and even the most enlightened of which, the drivers, are financial. So the Board of Trustees of SAMS have put the ocean as an entity, as a person, if you like, on their board to make sure that actually we are working to protect the ocean, and something I think is just fantastically innovative and cutting edge. And then I also want to talk about our Student of the Year. Tim, I think you're here somewhere. Yeah, looking, give me a wave. There you are, thank you. So Tim Aubrey from Argyll is a final year PhD student, and his research focuses on the distribution of minke whales in Scottish waters and the potential impacts of human activity such as fishing and marine traffic. Tim has been named both SAMS Student of the Year and the overall UHI Student of the Year for 2025. So well done, Tim, and well done to all of our students. And by taking such an innovative and forward-thinking approach, SAMS is continuing to lead education, science and research within UHI and the wider world. And graduates, or graduands at the moment, graduates to be soon, you are at the heart of this story, and you have studied, persevered, I'm sure you've had a few drinks along the way, and grown in one of the most unique and inspiring learning environments of the world. And you're not just graduates of SAMS and UHI. You are ambassadors of innovation, resilience, and part of our valued UHI community, and we really hope you'll keep in touch as you go on to more life adventures. Finally, I'd also like to recognise the contribution and commitment of Professor Nick Owens, the Director of SAMS. I first got to know Nick when I joined UHI in 2022, and he's been a huge supporter of SAMS, its community, and a passionate advocate for UHI. Nick's had a dual role for the last 12 months, and I feel very privileged and honoured to work with him in his role as Vice Principal Research and Innovation as a member of the senior executive team at the university. And he's brought his significant experience and insight and humanity to this role and has worked skillfully with colleagues and myself to help us build the UHI for the future. And on behalf of all of UHI, I would like to take this public opportunity to thank Nick and all of our colleagues at SAMS for their contribution to the university. Finally, we come to the end of my welcome and the beginning of the presentations. But before I say the formal phrase, which will open this part of the ceremony, a word about the doffing with the famous purple Harry Potter hat. When you come up as a graduand and before you receive your certificate and become a graduate of the university, I will gently tap you on the head with the doffing cap and hand you your scroll. It's a traditional part of the graduation ceremony at Scottish universities, and I promise it doesn't hurt. So now, in the name of the University of the Highlands and Islands and by the authority of the Academic Council, I declare this ceremony open for the award of degrees and academic distinctions.
I just have to move the scrolls, otherwise you're not going to get them. So, we've now moved to the bit you've actually all really been waiting for, the degree awarding ceremony. So we will begin with the postgraduate degrees. I will now invite each of our graduands to step forward to receive their degree award, and I will also give the title of their research dissertation. First are the PhD awards. Daniela Sinia Villica de Jonge, assessing the impact of multiple environmental stresses on Atlantic Ocean deep sea sediment ecosystem functioning, Doctor of Philosophy. John Phelan, for the thesis entitled Dynamic Spatial Forecasting of Sea Lice Abundance, Doctor of Philosophy. Moving on to Master of Science in Agriculture, Environment and Society, Nathalia Beckera. Finian Hallworth. Chaturangi Imahami Mudian Salage. Neha Javid. Frederick Martinson. Edith Novia Tubal. Next are the undergraduate degrees awarded through UHI. We will start with the undergraduate degree awards of Bachelor of Science, Honours, Marine Science, Lily Ann Hargreaves. I should have said, for those that are wearing heels, just be careful as you walk up. Bachelor of Science, Honours, Marine Science with Arctic Studies, Alexander Stewart Begbie. Thomas James Tyler Cox. Rory Kenneth Wilkinson. Bachelor of Science, Honours, Marine Science with Marine Biology, Erin Anna Goodyear Curtis. David Stratford de Valba. Sir Lisa Marie de Koning. Karen McKechnie. Stephanie Victoria Pierce. Jamie Camille Yates. Bachelor of Science, Honours, Marine Science with Oceanography and Robotics, Logan Andrick. Ross Denver Lamont Chalmers. Donald Sinclair Morrison. Bachelor of Science, Marine Science, Caitlin Conan Fowler. The following students are graduating in absentia. Doctor of Philosophy, Ewan Mackenzie, for the thesis entitled Utilising Novel Methods to Determine Potential Interactions Between Subsea Power Cables and Benthic Reef-Forming Species, Limaria hians and Modiolus modiolus, Doctor of Philosophy. Master of Research, Algal Biotechnology, Biology and Ecology, Joss Main, for the thesis entitled From Cultivation to Commercialization, the Stability, Degradation and Interactions of Astaxanthin in Haematococcus lacustris biomass. We have a number of students from the Masters of Science in Agriculture, Environment and Society who are graduating in absentia, and I hope that they're able to join us online. So perhaps we'll clap them all at the end so that I can actually get through them. So the first one is Suma Akhtar, Federico De Buccio, Trevor Eakes, Christopher Edoso Ihirobo, Dilki Ekianaka Munianat Silage, Sanith Gallier Liange, Mohammed Iqbal, Kashfi Kajal, Madhav Kartikian, Ungok Luson, Tadlo Mangasha, Faith Ojalade, Hamid Raza, Patrick J. Roux, Nitu Yingwin, Asier Vumuelen Areno, Julia Wolf, and Subhash Yadav are here. We also have one student graduating with Bachelor of Science Marine Science in absentia, Alexandra Wertley. That brings to a close the degree awarding part of our ceremony. Please put your hands together once more for all our graduates. We now move to the prize giving, where we recognise the outstanding achievements of our students. And I would like to invite our keynote speaker, Heather Stewart, to present the following awards. Our first award is the Johanna Failing Memorial Prize. This prize is awarded for the best published paper by a PhD student in the last year. This year's winner is Chloe Blackman for her publication on reassessing the growth parameters for the razor clam Ensis siliqua from Scottish electrofishing grounds using external shell marks and oxygen isotope validation. Chloe, unfortunately, is not able to join us today, so I'd like to invite her Director of Studies, Dr. Clive Fox, to receive the Johanna Failing Memorial Prize on her behalf. Well done, Clive. Next, we move to the best dissertation on the ACES Masters Programme. Faith Ogelade started out on the ACES programme as a quiet yet determined to succeed student. She went on to excel in her academic studies, developing into a confident and articulate student by the end of this programme. Faith received a glowing report for her dissertation and is therefore a worthy winner of this year's ACES Prize for the Best Dissertation, which is awarded for the highest combined mark for the oral and written components of the dissertation. As Faith is unable to join us, the award will be received on her behalf by the ACES course leader, Professor Elizabeth Cottier-Cook. Our next award is the SAMS Council Award for Academic Excellence, and this year is being awarded to Jamie Yates. Jamie has had a remarkably consistent academic performance on the BSc Marine Science course. Since joining the programme in 2021, towards the easing of the COVID pandemic and a return to in-person teaching at SAMS, Jamie has excelled in her studies, achieving high grades throughout them, including her dissertation, where she was highly proactive and organised in undertaking a particularly challenging piece of research. Staff were delighted to see her gain confidence in the lab and becoming a more independent researcher. Jamie Yates. The next prize is the SAMS Award for Overall Achievement. This student's achievement is equally impressive. They managed to combine working at SAMS in the world-renowned culture collection of algae and protozoa, as well as balancing her studies to achieve her degree in marine science. This student also participated in the 2024 Red Sea Expedition, the first overseas undergraduate expedition that SAMS had organised, securing their place through tireless local fundraising. This year, the SAMS Award for Overall Achievement goes to Karen McKechnie. next award is the Tim Boyd Prize for Polar Science. The prize recognises significant achievement in the field of polar research. This year's winner is a student who joined SAMS in 2021 and immediately made an impact with their impressive grades throughout their studies. They went to Svalbard in 2024, studying at the University Centre of Svalbard, and seemed to really enjoy their time there. Their final year dissertation was entitled Summer Migrations of Calanus copepods in Atlantic and Arctic regimes north of Svalbard, where they used mooring data in the Barents Sea to model underwater light and zooplankton migrations. This year's prize is being awarded to Alex Begbie. The Graham Shamil Prize for Biogeochemistry is awarded in the name of our previous director, who had the vision to develop our teaching programme at SAMS. This year, we are delighted to make the award to one of our postgraduate students who successfully defended their PhD earlier this year. She was particularly focused on how climate change stresses will impact soft sediment ecosystems in the deep sea and how it may affect the wider ecosystem function. The Graham Shamil Prize for Biogeochemistry goes to Daniela de Jonge. We now move to the award of the SAMS UHI Student of the Year. The winner of this award is an integral part of the SAMS student body, always ready to help and support the people around them, whether they are undergraduate students or experienced research colleagues. Because of this, they are universally well respected and liked, and their optimistic nature has positively impacted the atmosphere at SAMS. This student has also helped various students and interns as part of the SAMS Marine Mammal team and has been involved in teaching on the BSc Marine Science degree. They've been a true ambassador for SAMS, making a huge impact in the marine science and conservation communities and beyond. The SAMS UHI Student of the Year award goes to Tim Aubrey. For the UHI Overall Student of the Year 2025, which I'd like to invite Professor Vicky Nairn to come forward and present. This award goes to Tim Aubrey, as we know, who has demonstrated a dedication to research and a commitment and contribution to conservation that has made him a standout student across the UHI partnership. During his time as a UHI PhD student based at SAMS, Tim's work has been of excellent quality. This is no more evident than in the string of conference awards he has received over the past 3 years, including at the world's largest marine mammal conference in 2024. Throughout his PhD, Tim has been engaging with the Hebridean Whale and Dolphin Trust, including analysing data to be used for national management decisions. Apart from his academic achievements, contributions to the conservation of marine species, and exceptional dedication to his work, Tim stands out as a genuine, positive and modest individual who is reluctant to shout about his many successes. I'm therefore delighted to do it for him and would like Tim to collect his award. Congratulations once again to all our prize winners. That concludes the ceremony for this afternoon. But before we close proceedings, it is important to recognise the hugely important engine room that underpins SAMS educational activity. I'm sure that all students and staff will join me in acknowledging the huge amount of work undertaken by Shona, Polly, Anna, Leah, Marianne, and Helen to ensure that our education activity runs as smoothly as it does. One final thank you before we leave, and that is to Oban High School piper Ewan McCracken, who opened today's graduation by piping us in today and will close proceedings as we process out. And I'm sure he's hiding just there. Following the graduation procession from the hall, guests are welcome to join us for a reception, and I hope we will see many of you back here this evening at our graduation ceilidh. And so, it remains for me to wish our graduates good fortune in your future endeavours.